So we just ended the stream. I said I was going to discuss this. And there was some weird thing that I don't even know how they found it, but on, what was the name of the website? I don't even remember the name of the damn website, but Art something. Art Station, that's what it was. Okay. So the like UI director or whatever he was for Crystal Dynamics posted basically a bunch of stuff. And some of it looks like early like builds, ideas and stuff that maybe didn't make the cut for the final game. But there was some interesting things that we saw, and it can go either way. I don't know. And that's what we'll be discussing. The intention of this, is this something that got scrapped? Was this the direction they maybe wanted to take the game and didn't? Or is this something that is on the horizon and will be coming soon? But let me pull this up and I'm going to show you guys it's two screenshots that I basically want to show. The link is no longer live. I guess once people started finding it and covering, probably someone over at Crystal Dynamics said take that stuff down. But let me pull this up here. Here we go. All right, so take a look. Let's take a look at the first deal, right? I think this is probably the most important one. So this shows character factions, right? And of course, some characters that we kind of know now that are going to be coming are here. Black Panther, War Machine. But under heroes, it says Inhumans. Not under factions, under heroes, it says Inhumans. So when I first saw that, I'm like, obviously this kind of looks like the Black Bolt joint, but I'm like, are they Inhumans? Like, why wouldn't that be under factions if at some point they're not going to be playable? And it says Inhumans. Interesting. And then we go to this one, which looks like a gear creating system. So I was like, okay, and we've talked about this. If you watch my previous videos, you watch my review, I say how Kamala Khan, you could remove her from the game and plug in like your own created character and the plot would change not a bit. So it's almost like they wanted to do that. And I did a full video on this. I said this was a feature that they should have added in the game. You can go watch that. I made a link in the description for you. But because it makes sense. It doesn't change the narrative or anything like that. It was like the narrative's already set up. They can still, of course, do that. We know that there's Inhumans all around because of the whole A-Day event. But what I'm hoping is that, in my own personal opinion, in my own personal position, we talked about this in my last stream, that wasn't the idea and it just got scrapped. Hopefully it's something that's on the horizon. Because me personally, this would bust the game wide open. Straight up. So if you're watching this, Crystal Dynamics, like I've suggested, you should pivot towards this. Reason being is that you don't have to sacrifice adding new Avengers in the game. You can still do that. Taking a page out of Xenoverse's book, they still have that element where you go to the parallel quest, for example, and if your little created character in certain parallel quests wants to play alongside Vegeta Super Saiyan 4 and Goku Super Saiyan 4, you can do that. But I hope they do that because a lot of the stuff that people are asking, like, oh, this is this looter, a brawler online like Solar RPG, but it doesn't have the elements of like a social space where you see other characters and stuff like that. Well, it doesn't make sense if there's only 6 freaking characters you're going to have. And the only way that would make sense is if it was like a multiversal hub. So you have 17 Hulks running around. But if everybody had their own Inhuman, that would make more sense. Now, first thing you're probably thinking is this game is called the Avengers. Why would they do that? Who's to say that Inhuman couldn't become an Avenger? And that's the whole sort of narrative. They can do that. And again, if you still want to play as Hulk, you can still get that option. But I would love something like this, mainly because I've long said my perfect game, my personal favorite would be something that was on the lines of the immersiveness of like the world, the expansive world of like DC Universe Online, while also having the combat system. This is the strongest part of this game is the combat system of the Marvel's Avengers game. But they don't have to truly deviate from any of the ideas. But the reason why we are saying this, and we have been talking about maybe this is something that they're going to add in the game, because you look at this, and it looks like this is broken down. What is melee, range? You got your heroic, defense. Looking like this is what it did. Though these look like the pattern icons here. This looks like it will be the exotic, and it's locked that you can't create it. So it looks like you can create. This is a gear creation system. So we first thought, okay, maybe there's at some point in time, you're going to be able to create gear for your individual characters. But the reason why I don't think it's limited to just that is because we see like this whole deal of blue over white. And we're sitting here like, what could that possibly mean? And me and the chat's putting our heads together. We're like, look, I don't think that would be for your own character, because remember, or like the Hulk, we don't think it wouldn't be for your own character. It wouldn't be like for Hulk or Thor or something like that, because their whole monetization system is centered around having special skins, right? And obviously we know that the gear isn't tied to cosmetic. Whereas if it is here, if it's going this blue over white thing, then it would be tied to cosmetic. That makes more sense in the human space than it does in the Hulk space or something like that. Now, what all that does, who knows? But you see that we have this quantized thing, which sounds like we had talked, and looking at what that term means, maybe elemental, right? We know that the PEM particles are in the game. We know that you got the plasma, you got the shock, you got all of that stuff. And I think that's what it's more so referring to. And then you have this customized thing. So I'm looking at it like, when you see all of that, I'm like, are they saying that this only really makes sense if this is gear for a created character, not a established original character, when you consider their monetization scheme, and when you also consider the fact that it seems like color and stuff is tied to the gear, and that wouldn't make sense in terms of how the game is set up right now. Now, some of the guys they don't care about creative character. Me, I'm all about that. You give me that option, I'm doing that 9 times out of 9, right? And yes, it would be a slight pivot, but I think it will be a positive one. Some of the things you guys asked for from the more social space, that could happen if they did that and they went that sort route. Just because it's called Marvel's Avengers, there it is. Now, one thing that we talked about would be the difficulty is, how do you monetize that? They painted themselves in a corner by saying that, okay, well, all the post-game content is going to be payable, everything's going to be cosmetic, or it's not going to cost money, everything's going to be cosmetic. How could they reason with this? And like, if you create your own gear and that's changing your cosmetic, what the hell is going to go with that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get money out of people that isn't skin related if the skins basically change? I have no idea how they're going to do that. Somebody thought about, they said, hey, just charge $10 to do it, and like, put a challenge card on there or something like that. And I'm like, maybe that is a way that they can do that, but it wouldn't be like comparable to the other characters. It doesn't really make sense. So maybe you guys have some monetization ideas for that, because I feel like there will be a lot of people running around as Inhumans as opposed to running around as some of the other characters. But if you want to, and this is why I'll forever be an advocate of this move, because some of the things that you guys want, even the matchmaking thing, you know what I mean? Like, if they added that, you don't have to worry about, well, this guy's, playing as Hulk, this guy's playing as Thor, and all these other sort of things. Just the Inhuman drops in, and that's what it is. Now, we know that the positive thing about the game is how the characters differentiate from one another. So they obviously would have to have the skill trees and limitations. Are you going to be a flyer? Are you going to be, or whatever it is that you're going to be? They have to have that sort of thing fleshed out. But when you look at games like Xenoverse, when you look at games like 2K, for example, NBA 2K, and their My Player Builder, there's no characters that are virtually the same. You know what I'm saying? They may have similar moves, but for the most part, they're not the same. They look different. They have a different stats because there's that much differentiation between them. I think that's something that they should add in the game, or they can add in the game, obviously, and it can make it that more robust and really take it in a completely new direction and do some of those things and won't be bound to those constraints. Look, they tried the normie appeal. It didn't work. I knew it wasn't going to work. This was not their style game. You have people that are still clinging to this, trying to make it that style game when it is a looter brawler at the end of the day. So you trying to make it that style game, it isn't really going to work. That's another thing we had to talk about, the loot system of a created character. How would they do that? Maybe it's resources to build some of this stuff out. I'm not really sure. Nonetheless, like the game has a lot going for it, mainly in its combat system. And if it took it in that direction, all of the things that a lot of you guys are asking for wouldn't make sense to put in that setting. It doesn't make sense to put in a lot of the settings that you guys asked for because it's just stupid. You know what I'm saying? You want 15 Hulks running around a multiversal hub, doesn't really make sense. But they can still keep it Avengers. They can still have you doing more creative things alongside the other characters. That's some experience that you guys want. You still can play with companion AI. I would argue they shouldn't have those even being a thing in future content. But the content that's there, the content is there, and you can jump in there with the companion AI and stuff. And I think that would be something worth doing if it's you just want to fight along other people and stuff. But hopefully this is a pivot. So these two screenshots, between that screenshot and this screenshot, and with the Inhumans thing, it could be nothing, but it can also mean that this is something that's going to be on the rise. You let me know what you guys think. I'm going to end the video right there. Until next time, y'all be easy.